latest accusations against them. Take a look.
You've seen what happened in Paris and Nice. All over Europe, it's happening. It's gotten to a point where it's not even being reported. And in many cases, the very, very dishonest press doesn't want to report it. They have their reasons, and you understand that.
You know what's funny about this? One of the first stories that was reported on was the beheading of Daniel Pearl.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes.
A journalist. So the media has a real connection to making sure that people know where the terror attacks are all over the world. And this White House just released a list of 78 terror attacks they claim were not covered by the media, but the media's been, you know, providing all the coverage these attacks received. And so, you know, I just want to say, even though Steve Bannon is running everything, I know that you can say what you want about the media. You can continue to say all of those things, but it doesn't change the fact that you're wrong. You're wrong, my friend. You're wrong.
One interesting thing is, as he listed off all the things that were not reported, instantly every detail of each one started to replay because I'd heard so much coverage in a 24/7 news cycle. But I find the timing of this interesting. On a day when the court's deciding about a ban, that his whole ban is based in fear on terrorism, we are getting a highlight reel of every terrorist attack. Every network is defending themselves, saying, what about we did this much coverage, this many people died, what better soundtrack to push through something that really, you have to use fear when it comes to what he's trying to get. And we're hearing once again about not just one attack or two, but all of the ones.
But now one word about the attack in Quebec. Which was done by a white supremacist against a bunch of Muslims. That he forgot to tweet about.
And you know what he also isn't talking about? The fact that he wasn't in the Situation Room for the botched Yemen raid that killed up to 30 civilians and 1 U.S. Navy SEAL was the first operation approved by this president. And
is that the one he didn't actually do his homework
He didn't actually do his homework and sent Navy SEAls in without the proper cover and foundation. Maybe the media should cover more of that.
Yeah, perhaps.
Maybe we should cover more of that.
What do I call him? As a TV personality, he knows that ratings drive the networks. And you know, there's a saying in news: if it bleeds, it leads. You know that. CNN uses that. If it bleeds, it leads. And when there's a terrorist attack anywhere, that is a big news story. Now he knows that everything is about ratings, and they're not going to avoid that. So this is such a blatant lie that even people who voted for him, I think, could see it.
But Sarah's right; it's intentional.
It is. I think he won, though. Remember, he won largely based on this media versus us narrative, media versus the people. So I think when he says this, he's speaking to his base, and he feels like he's fulfilling some kind of campaign promise by holding the media, in his mind, accountable. But I do think there's an argument to be made. I do think that the media covers terrorist attacks. I worked at Fox News. We covered it all the time. But I do think there's an appetite in this country for sensationalized news. And even though they cover terrorist attacks, I think we, the marketplace, sometimes demand a lot of nonsense from the news networks. And they feel like they have to cater to us by talking about some comment Trump made 20 years ago that was ridiculous more than they're talking about an attack in Yemen. But I think that rests with us, really, because they're catering to our demand and for what we want. So I think there's a point to be made, but you can't just say the media doesn't cover terrorist attacks. That's a blatant lie.
His issues are so numerous, you know, and he's still getting blowback from his interview with Bill O'Reilly. The Kremlin, you know who that is. They want O'Reilly to apologize. And he responded to this last night. Here's a clip.
Apparently, the Putin administration in Moscow demanding that I, your humble correspondent, apologize for saying old Vlad is a killer. So I'm working on that apology, but it may take a little time. Might want to check in with me around 2023.
Well done. Well done.
I don't know. I would be worried if I were Bill O'Reilly. Maybe he needs to get a food taster. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the irony of that the people we're talking about that were killed were people mostly in the media that spoke out against him and were killed. So now how did he get to the table to hold our media accountable, he was invited in.
Well, because he's patterning himself, or the other president is patterning the country after Mr. Putin, and that's how they deal with news media when they don't like. Well, that's why a couple of days ago I got a little bit of poop, because I said, here is a list of stuff that happens in other places we're fighting against, and here's a list of stuff that seems to be happening here. We need to watch out and make sure we don't blend. So now he's, Trump's
what was the
very.
poop you got?
Well, people were like, how can you make that connection? I was like, well, when I hear somebody say, only this religion is the one we're going to, pay attention to, or we don't like what the media is saying, or we don't like what our judges are doing. I mean, to me, that's a different country. That's not America. You get to bitch here. You get to bitch.
You do. I'd like to ask the panel a question. Why do you think he keeps stirring up about terrorism all over? And he keeps stirring it up like he's almost like he wants it to well, he wants this.
I think that's
let me ask you something. Because if you keep saying we're gonna have a terrorist attack, we're gonna have a terrorist attack, is that because he wants to put like some kind of clamps on civil liberties and have martial law in this country so that he can run the dictatorship that he and Bannon want to run?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's fear-based.
I do think there are people in the administration on the national security team, and Katie McFarland's over there. She's brilliant. I think there are people that are genuinely concerned about terrorism, and a lot of people.
Well, we all are.
Right, but I think it's okay for him to say this should be a priority that we're discussing. It's not okay for him to say the news networks aren't covering it, because that's a lie. But to place terrorism as a #1, we're at war. We're at war with ISIS, and I think I love that he makes that a priority. I just don't like that he uses deception.
Yeah,
about
it's fear-based. He's trying to make the American public so fearful that they're going to approve and support this ridiculous, unconstitutional Muslim ban.
That's
what this is all about.
They're already fearful.
So let me say this. Nobody was happy with any of the deals that Obama made. Nobody was happy. It shut Iran up, okay? And they were working. They were doing what they needed to do. They didn't like this. They didn't like this. Well, see, I don't like when you go and you lift your leg and you pee on a country that we are doing our best to try to keep a balance with, so we can have a conversation, so nothing escalates. I don't like that you lift your leg and you do it on China. You lift your leg, you do it on Korea. Stop. I get that you're trying to show that you're a man and you're strong, but every time you do this, everything shrinks.
But that's
as far as I'm concerned.
That's all diplomacy. He doesn't believe
No, but
that.
The question is, why doesn't he lift his leg on Russia? That is the question everybody wants answered.
That's
Why not Russia?
Sticking with the peeing analogy.
Yes. Let's say you pee on Putin. He won't do it.
Russia should be in the mix, but
Alliteration. I love it. Pee on Putin. Go ahead, sorry.
No, this guy won, though. A lot of people voted for him because they felt that he was going to be a negotiator that was going to go to the table and say, you know what, Iran, I don't like this deal.
Jobs.
I don't like.
They just want jobs.
That's not. If you looked at the polling